Super coaches, let's go through our buy, hold, risk it, and sell on our side here. And we'll kick it off with the trade to Lukey to have a check out of all of these positions. And last week, what we did was go through each position one by one and go through obviously the guys that are scoring well, especially in round 3 here when price changes do come into effect after this week. There will be guys that will be losing cash in your sides and those that will be making them. I suppose for a starter, guys, there are a bunch of these really high average, generally high average players, high price players currently. They're going to be going down in their price. What you need to look at with them, if you're going to make a decision to trade them out, is your replacement an absolute slam dunk? That's number one. Is number two, is that downgrade going to allow you to make a big upgrade in a position or an area that you're really struggling in? I think that's your two, because most likely if you're looking at the Pongers, Clearys, Hines, these type of players, they are very highly likely going to get back somewhere close to the price that they're currently at. Yes, you might look at Hines and go, oh, 970, that's really tough. You know, Caitlin Bonga with his 892, that's really tough to get to. But remember, it only takes they've had a couple of low weeks and they're going to drop some cash on that. It only takes a couple of high weeks for their price to really rocket back up. So if you look at some of their matchups forward from where they currently are, Ponga might have a couple of tougher matchups right now in like was it Storm and Manly, but then he comes up against some slightly easier opponents where he could go absolutely nuts, given he's a goal kicker. Same with Hines, same with Cleary. So as I said, have your checklist, the 1 and the 2, when you're looking to trade guys out of your side. Does it make a lot of sense to do that? Are you looking at selling Ponga like I'm having a look at, and every one of those options doesn't have like the clear incredible run? You look at the Trell, he's going to buy in round 7. Ponga doesn't. They're going to go up in these next couple of weeks. Ponga and Turbo even are going to go down a little bit, but then they could switch and these guys get up too high and then they drop down. And if you just hold these guys the whole time, you don't actually lose money on them. And you need to make your decision based on round 3 onwards, not what's happening in round 1 and 2. If you think they're going to do well from here on in, be really simple with your thought process, keep hold of them, and make improvements and changes in other ways, is how I would look at it, guys, and how I think you should look at it as well. So if you're looking at your hooking position, so if you got Brandon Smith like myself, he's going to lose some money this week, or at worst, stay the same. At best, I should say, stay the same. Unless he scores a couple of tries or something, or sets up a couple, which is unlikely at this point. Just with how things are looking, base stats have been really cool for him. In the minutes that he's been getting, the minutes have not been enough. So Smithy at the moment is a guy that I think I can change to Lussick pretty comfortably, right? Lussick's going to make some money. He's a good buy this week. Levi is going to make some money as well. Even if he was to score a 20 or 30, he'll still make some money. So he's easily a hold. If you want to go Levi to Lussick, Aman popped up a really cool graphic there that if he averaged 30 going on from here, Lussick averaged 50. So both of them down from where they currently averaged at. Then Lussick's going to make sort of 100 or so K more than Lussick. Was just, paraphrasing what it is. But it ends up being a good trade in the end. Lussick, you're safer to play as well. So that's definitely an option as well. The other hookers, none of them are clearly going to make money other than Silva Havili. In the first bit, people are looking at Harry Grant, but he's averaging 55 and should really have to step up this week. Hasn't scored his try and whatever else. Those games will come. Always they do. And he'll hit 100 and then you'll be annoyed. So I think Grant's a hold. I understand if you do want to sell, but if you have enough cover for next week, whether it's Lussick or something like that, then I think he's an easy hold as well. Little we can't talk about now. He's injured with a concussion. Cook I wouldn't be buying. I'd be holding. And then, Smithy from there. Appy is a decent buy as well at 572, but he doesn't change in price this week. So you could go Lussick and then you could look for Appy in round 3 if he happens to score fairly well again in that one. So that's the hooking position. It's pretty simple at the moment to talk about. And that's it. We just found out the news that Payne House is actually going to be out this week. So please, please, please look to hold him. I would suggest just switch him with the Liam Henry, or if you got Xavier Willison and that's where you played out, he's going to be playing this week and should be viable enough. So that's solid. Make sure you do get Terrell May if you have any issues in your front row forward. Don't make unnecessary trades in your front row forward position, guys. It's not a position that is super high scoring. Obviously, you've got Fanua Blake You got Tino is an interesting one heading into this week as well. Obviously, this one just talks about total points, and only Tigers are in there, and the Titans have only played the one game, so if they've done well, they could still be down here in the 70s and 60s pile in total points. So just be aware of those guys, obviously. But Tino, a good buy this week. Very expensive though, of $7.90. Hard to get him in your side. But if he's he's obviously a dual position guy, 2RF, front row forward, a decent buy at that, but won't change in price this week. But should be able to score well. Payne Haas as a hold. Fanua Blake, so this, when he's not scoring tries, these 50s will be in his range. When he scores tries and whatever else, the 100s. So expect that on a week-to-week basis. But Terrell's going to go up the most to start here. You've got Kerr and Mark Nichols and Flegler all started really well, but have a bye this week. We'll talk about Flegs or Kerr, especially him being really cheap next week. Ruben Cotter, a really nice week. Big bounce back from his 46. So do expect him to land somewhere around this 58 average, in my opinion, and have a little bit of money to be made. David Totola is a hold. Hughes and Henry won't go up too much in cash, but Henry will more than Hughes and should get a decent role this week. So he would be more of the buy than Hughes if he needed to go that way. But most people, as I said, hopefully fixed up their front row forward last week. And if he didn't, he's an easy one to trade to get you somewhere in that 30 to 40 range. Down the list here, there's not a lot of guys, as I said, in the front row forward that excite me at all, apart from, as we said, Tino down there. All of these other guys are very mid at the moment. And when we say mid scores, that's for sure. So let's go to 2RF. Very, very tough, interesting position, especially for myself. It's been a very low scoring position. But for more, I'm very happy to play him this week with Foran back in the side, hopefully. Anyway, Kaipi's Paul gets to start again. Likely, I know it's probably, is it a 50-50 with Lucas potentially going to, off the reserves into the starting, reserves into the starting side or the bench. So may get 80, may get 40 or 50. Who knows at this point, but he's an okay buy. I'm a bit worried given it's the last game of the round. If we find anything over the next few days, then that would be great, and you'll be able to lock that in. Smithy's obviously a 345. He'll make some money there at a 53 average. Piakura, I do think is a hold. I understand people looking to sell, but if you have Lukey, then he's the sell in 2RF. And we do have some purchases, and we'll get through them now in this one. And Hosky coming off the bench, like you can get him as a pure cash grab. I still think he gets 50 minutes and should be able to score solidly. But he could also move into the starting side and Whitehead play off the bench. Unsure at this point. Whitehead's part of the captaincy though, so that's that. So he's solid. Hopgood, up and down games depending on if he gets tries or try assists, and then back into the sort of 60 range. Similar with Yo, like he'll be a 65 to 70 guy. Both great options, obviously longer term, but very expensive at that. You can spend a little bit less and go for someone like Teague Wilton, who looks improved, but again, he had a 46 in round one and had a really big round two. Cartwright, the opposite, had a big round one, lower round two. So those guys expect up and down scoring. I would probably go for Hamole Olakawatu over those guys I just mentioned. Obviously, that little bit cheaper than Yo and Hopgood. And without the buy coming up that Yo has, that's probably where I would push him ahead. If he didn't knock on that ball just before he scored there, he would have had another really big 80s to 90s score. And instead it was a 54. So him and the team look really good this year. And he could probably take that step up and average closer to that sort of 70 range, I think, this year than in the 60s like it was last year. So that's something to note with him. Guys like Elliott and Jeremiah Nanai, under 600K, very, very good purchases. This week, obviously, can make some money for you. Both seem to be getting some attack, which is nice. Jeremiah, his base has been a lot better as well. So keep him in your thoughts. 63 and an 80 odd last week shows that he is getting tries. When he doesn't get tries, he won't score well, but the base is up again a little bit this year. Adam Elliott did get a double, won't get that longer term, but really solid moneymaker this week, averaging 75. If he can come out and get a 60, play some big minutes like he did last week, he'll continue to do well. Eli Gatoa, we can wait until round 5 or potentially even round 6. I think they play the Broncos in round 5, so could definitely hold off. And then Josh Curran, guys, he's the clear cheapest purchase this week, other than Finne Furiaki, who is nice and cheap. But I think Finne, you could probably wait, especially if you have a Chan or something like that. I'd rather go for points this week with a Curran or with one of the guys above to really help you out. But Curran, I do think he's probably 5 minutes above where he should be long term, but he has the work ethic. He has some line break assists in him. He'll potentially have a try or try assist in him at some point. So I definitely think he's a 58 to 60 average guy going forward, and that's enough for him to make sort of 150k, which is really cool. So Curran, I definitely think is a clear purchase this week if you need a 2RF. And then lower down the line, we spoke about Cotter and Smithies. Bench Boyovich will be in our centre wing. Lane there, I think, is a clear hold as well. Wong you can sell after his benching or he's reserving. And that's it in the 2RF. We'll move to the half position now. Obviously, yeah, someone like Samuel Fainu is an option, but I think next week we can look at him. From the Tigers, Isaiah Papali'i was the big one as well that we didn't get to see in that list, but he should be able to score pretty well regularly. He did get a lot of junk points in the back end of last game, but he's someone that you could, clearly have a look at as well. But again, probably next week you can find out who's going poorly out of your mid-range and go to him at 569k. Moving to the halfback, and obviously the 5/8 position. So Brooks has had a really, really good start. He got 60 in the first one, 80 in this one. He looks to be getting involved plenty. They give him a lot of ball. DCE's taking a little bit more of a backseat than what he's used to. And Brooks is showing his clear, great running game down that nice left-hand side. At the moment, they're getting plenty of good ball. So he's definitely an option who's going to make some money this week, go up about 50k if he does well, which is cool, and covers both halfback and 5/8. So a really nice stepping stone if you don't own Hines and Cleary to get some money-making starters and do really good things. Hughes is out this week, so don't look at him. Hines and Cleary, I think Hines is the clear buy this week given he plays the Tigers. If you can get to him and you're okay with losing money initially, like him going down in value, that's the play, but obviously a buy in round 5 as well. So losing money, buy in round 5, probably two enough red flags. Cleary, a little bit more of a purchase, obviously a bit cheaper than that of Hines, so you can get him as well. Up against a slightly decimated Broncos side, I expect him to do fairly well in this round. Foggs is solid, not really a buy at this point. Johnson, I think as a hold. Moses, you could probably sell into this one if you want to. Try and go up or go to Brooksy. So Brooksy will be fairly highly owned for sure. I think Trindle's probably a sell. He'll lose some money at that. And then 5/8 position, you've got guys like Metcalf, who I own. Not sure if he's going to keep goal kicking, but if he does, I think he's going to be a really cool purchase. But again, in this 5/8 position, you have him, you have Brooks, you have Dearden. I think it'll all do pretty well. If you started with Brown like myself, it's been okay at a 60 average to kick things off. Like you could go a little bit better. I probably would hold Dylan Brown at this point. Well, I will be. Flanagan, he's an easy one to sell if you want to go to Galvin. He's obviously the option in the 5/8 position this week. That's probably it, really. You got the 49 last week. If you can continue doing something like that, got a line break, got to gets a few things like that. He's going to be a good one to own. Obviously, not this week or next. Not this week. Don't exactly need him. Max Plath is a good one for next week as well to have a look at. So we'll see how things play out in the 5/8 position, but they're two guys to have a look at. The guy I'm clearly most excited about in the center wing position is Val Holmes, and this week I think he's actually a clear captaincy option against this team. He played so bad last week, missed a heap of goals, dropped plenty of ball, and still scored 54. So he got 108 last week, and I definitely think he can get up towards that 100 again if things just go a little bit more his way. Like if he didn't drop the ball as much as he did and kicked a couple more goals, that's already in the mid to high 60s to even 70, just with having a pretty average game at that, without big attacking stats. So he's a good one to purchase. Obviously very expensive at 736, but an average of 81. He'll make some money on that price to kick things off if he scores pretty well and is a long-term keeper. Isaac Tungo, obviously the 145. You can chase that if you like, but just remember he got a 46 in round 1. Ronaldo, 2 big scores, comes up against Tigers. He's the cash grab of the week. I do really like Hammer long-term as well. So if you got him, hold on. Not a buy this week on the buy. Talakai I really like. I'd probably go Talakai over Mulatalo. I think he's going to be more consistent for you. They're going down the left. They're doing good things down there. And both of those guys, awesome purchases. But round 5 buy is the worry with Siffer and with Ronaldo at this point. Garrick, we know kind of what he's going to get. If they do pretty well, he'll kick some goals. He'll be in some attack. Probably be in the 60s longer term. Lomax, a bit more down to earth. I think he's a hold off at this point, just with the quality of their team. Selwyn Cobbo, a bit of a cheaper risk at 602k, that's for sure. Should be solid. Dallin back to some of his best. Murray Taulagi back down to earth. Labart hopefully can do well this week from my side anyway. I think he's a clear hold. Taylor May a clear buy. Should be able to finally have a massive week at some point. Toolpicky looks like we'll probably get 2 more weeks out of him. So if you haven't got yet, you could buy him at that cheap price and get some cash rises. Also happy if you don't. Like it's fine either way. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, that's probably it. Dango guy being solid, but he's very expensive. Arthur's potentially a buy. He'll only make a bit of cash though, and could have a lower game at some point, especially against the Panthers this week. So I would personally hold off on that one. Eisenhuth will make a little bit of money, but yeah, not super ideal. Penasini getting good base. Kiraz probably all holds at this point. And then the fullback position, I do think if you're in my scenario there with Trebojevic and Ponga, and you were looking at selling Ponga, I think Latrell's probably the best bet. I think he has the obviously most ability to make some money this week. Teddy does as well, a very high average at that, but Latrell seems to be able to do it even when they lose. So when they start winning games, if they do, then he could continue to do well. Apparently, yeah, he was talking about having the best off season he's had in a while. Teddy obviously did as well. So both those guys, the 2 clear options. Pat, if you're not worried with him not playing next week, he's a good purchase this week, but comes up against Broncos in round 5 and has the bye next week. Reece Walsh is next on that list. He's going to kick goals and do great things, but he has to do a lot to get those points. Sloan, how good's he doing over the first in 4th spot after the first few weeks? Tommy is still a very clear purchase, I think, even with him not being able to make much money. Drinky's a clear hold. And yeah, that's probably it. Ponga, I think you can hold or sell. I'm not opposed to either. I'm probably going to hold him in my team here. Sell him in the head-to-head squad to build up some more cash generation, because that's the most important part of head-to-head. I do need to get some wins, actually, in the head-to-head. I've lost 2 in a row, but that'll turn around. We'll be fine. I'm going to go for some cash gen there. And yeah, that'll be it. So that's where we're at, guys, in the buy, hold, risk it, sell. For Supercoach, let me know your general thoughts on what you're doing at the moment, what you're thinking of. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them for you. And I do really appreciate all of you guys watching these Supercoach videos. Obviously not as highly viewed as the fantasy ones, but we'll get there. We'll have a good season overall and keep the knowledge coming. Thanks, guys. See you later.